Disclaimer. This podcast showcases business partners and friends that engage in lively conversations about books over many drinks. Content may not be suitable for viewers under 21.
All right, Kristen, which episode are we doing today?
Oh, that I don't know, but it is part 3 of our next
five moves. Your next 5 moves, part 3.
Yeah, I really lost count on the episode numbers.
Are we still doing episode numbers, or are we moving to part 1, part 2? I thought we were moving to part 1.
We were moving to the part 1, part 2, part 3. That's what I seriously thought. So,
well, okay. Whoever's editing this, we're doing your next 5 moves, part 3. Trace.
Yes. Okay. We ready?
All right. Let's do this.
Siesta Key Spiced Rum. Oh my gosh, right? We talked about this last time. We really dug into. It's by Drum Circle Distilling out in Siesta Key, Florida, which is along the Gulf Coast. And, ooh, right?
Are you drinking this right?
Yeah, I had mine shaken with ice and I just poured it into a little Nick and Nora coupe here and
I got a little jar. I got a little jelly jar filled with this stuff at my house.
Your little to-go container for my house.
With me.
Right? But what I love about this is that Troy really, it's like I said before, it's a family business. Like he brought his fiance in with him, 2 of his lifelong friends, and the rums. And what a great town to be in too. Siesta Key is so much fun. The shopping.
Yeah, man, they haven't made. They're on the beach. They're surrounded by buddies. They're drinking booze. I mean, life's great, right? We're living the dream, girl.
Right? Yes. I'm anxious for one of our road trips now. It'll kind of be fun because we've done the St. Augustine distillery. We've done the Old St. Pete. Now we've got Siesta Key, and there's several others in Florida yet. We should just do a tour to Florida and hit up all these amazing distillers and distilleries.
I'm down. Let's do it. We'll put it on the calendar.
On the calendar, yes. Road trip. Yay. So we have been reading the book. Tell us the book you picked for us for this month has been.
Yes, so we are currently reading Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. Patrick Bet-David comes from Iran. He came from a war-torn country. He started from ground zero, literal ground zero. And he has built up an empire in the industry. I think it was insurance industry, right? Insurance in the insurance industry, and he's really become a conglomerate over there of just really eating up all the market share in there. And so he's created this book. It's really about how to strategize your next 5 moves in your industry, in your business. If you're just starting, what are the next 5 moves that you really should be thinking about in order to structure yourself correctly, both in your field, in your industry, but also in your mindset. And so I really love the information that came out of that. And so thank you, Patrick.
Yes, absolutely. So we started, our first episode was really just Patrick's story, right? And getting behind it because, wow, talk about, like you said, somebody who started truly at zero, fleeing from a war-torn country and just everything his parents went through and him himself and his evolution. And then last week we dabbled in the very first, master knowing yourself and just how important that was. And, I love that. And we kind of discovered the phrase, are you maybe an intrapreneur and not an entrepreneur or something like that, right? Because not everybody necessarily wants to have the responsibility of truly running their own business, but they have just as much dedication to wanting to see the business succeed. So, as you go to launch your business, are you the CEO and is your partner than the entrepreneur, maybe, right?
Yeah.
You're the ultimate decision maker, but somebody you've brought in, or is there somebody you're going into business with and they are the true business owner and you're their partner, their right hand, and you care just as much about the success of the business, but you're very specialized in a way.
So I have a confession to make to you, Kristen, and I'll say it on camera. Okay.
Tell me.
So hearing the word entrepreneur and hearing the word entrepreneur, it did really affect me, and it really affected me in the dynamic of Saige Consultants and the, you know, the discovery that we're going through, this endeavor that we're undertaking, helping all these small business owners. And I never had heard him, or I had never heard entrepreneur before until Patrick broke it down. And so in this journey that Kristen and I are going on, I have realized that I am the entrepreneur in this relationship. Kristen is the visionary. She is the one who thought of Saige Consultants and wanted to come to bring it to fruition. And I am the entrepreneur. I am following her lead, her visionary leadership in this endeavor. And so, Kristen, I love you heart so much, and I am honored to be your entrepreneur to your entrepreneurship.
Well, and wow. but I guess so for people listening in, but we still do everything together. Everything's a joint decision. We respect each other's opinions and everything like that. And then there's certain places where I bow to your idea, and there's places where you're like, just go ahead, tell me where to be, right?
Yeah, but I think that was part of the thing that hit me so much in what Patrick said, is that an entrepreneur does not mean that you do not have great ideas and you cannot be an entrepreneur. It's just that entrepreneur has acknowledged that the true visionary in this, whatever endeavor you're going on, belongs to a certain person. Whoever that person is the entrepreneur, because that's the difference really between an intra and entre, is the visionary aspect. Is that journey, that avenue you want this company to go down.
Wow. So true. But I think that's what makes a lot of partnerships work, right? Like I would challenge, what is you and Danny, you know, your husband with Be Chic, how are you guys set up with that? I look at how Kevin and I are set up with other things, you know, so it's true. It actually makes for a really ideal business relationship, because one person in the end has to make the final pull on something, or, you know, just really keep the vision aligned with the why and the purpose and everything. And it's great when you have that shared vision, but wow.
An entrepreneur doesn't mean that they're not an entrepreneur in some other aspect, but in whatever that particular endeavor is, in this case, I'm the intrapreneur on this journey.
Here's the perfect teamwork, right?
Perfect team.
Oh, love that. So the second step, or the second move that he talks about in this, your 5 next steps, is mastering your ability to reason. This was a great few chapters or section, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I like that he says, issues and challenges come up regularly, and it's really how you plan for those. And I think that's where he talks about your next 5 moves and thinking ahead. And that's why, we mentioned this before, why he says 5 moves. If you try to think 10 moves ahead, you might get caught up in the what ifs and the data.
You don't do anything, you get stuck.
You get stuck, right? And if you only think about 1 or 2 moves ahead, you may not be planful enough. But he talks about making sure that you've ready for those challenges, and whether they're coming up in your business life or your personal life. I think we look at friends that we have, and some of them, you can tell they're always thinking ahead. And when something, sideswipes them, they roll with it. And then other people, it's like, it's almost the end of the world, and they need to rally their team to pull them together. And of course, it's going to depend on what it is too.
Yeah.
But I think the individuals who have learned to think ahead can handle some of those unexpected, right? Or they're not unexpected. They're, calculated.
They're calculated. It's like when you look at the financial markets, right? Sometimes the writing's on the wall. I'll admit it freely, I like looking at the financial markets. I like seeing where the economy is. I like seeing what possibly may happen, and try to position myself, my family, my finances accordingly. And that requires looking 5 moves ahead to see what's happening in now, what could possibly happen in the future. Yeah.
Right. Right. What I liked about you, one of our first conversations digging into finances, you were even researching trends and what had happened 100 years ago, 50 years ago, because everything is cyclical. Everything's a trend. So then what is the starting point of major shifts financially 100 years ago or 50 years ago? And what similar signs are we seeing right now? Right.
Oh yeah. And that was just right around the pandemic. Influenza virus came out 103 years ago, 104 now. And if you look at what happened back then to what's happening now, it's very similar. It's very trendy. This one seems to be happening at a more rapid pace. And I think the internet has a lot to do with it. Sure. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. It was just looking at the trends, and business has trends.
Always, every business, even if you think you have the most creative new concept, it's still a business, and businesses have trends, and they follow market trends, and they follow consumer trends, and so on. So he actually talks about, I really like this quote that he says, building a business requires that you slay many dragons, right? Because this whole thing is preparing you for the challenges that come at you. But I feel like that sometimes. I'm like, I got my sword and I'm ready. Okay, what's going to come at me next? What can I figure out?
What I really love about him is like everything in the book is either you're killing something or it's about sports.
Yeah, okay. We've read a lot of men written books. I think we should get some more women ones in here.
Sorry, just had to point it out. Yeah, there were so many references to killing something, Goliath, or sport.
Right? Yeah, sport seems to be the other big thing that helps people align their everything. I guess I'm not a big sports person, so I get it. But anyways, so he talks about like really preparing for planning for these things and processing things that happen. And I'll tell you, Patrick loves his lists in this book. He has list after list after list, which is great, especially if you're an analytical thinker, because then you see, right?
He gave me a list and I'm like, okay.
So he says there's 3 steps for processing. He says, make effective decisions based on facts and the best possible outcome, which is like you, right? Researching historic trends in the financial market. Take time to analyze difficult choices, right? There's things that businesses need to do, and you need to analyze those. And some things don't always feel good in the moment, but when you're looking at your next 5 moves ahead or what's going to happen in the future based on, I know you and I were just talking before we started recording, it's businesses have their cycles and
I'm currently going through one. We'll get out of this cycle, but I'm currently going through a down cycle, and that's okay. That's okay. And just having the right mindset and knowing that this is a cycle, there will be an end and there will be a brighter future is what will push me through this.
Absolutely. I think almost looking at the cycles almost as seasons, right? Like you've already been through your summer season and your harvest. You had such great growth and development of your team and development of your product, development of your systems that you got to a really great place. But nature in general, winter comes. No matter where on the planet you are, winter's going to come. And it's okay when it comes.
Yeah. Reset.
It's time for introspection, reflection. It's a time to run lean. And sometimes when we run lean, we realize where were we really spending in excess? What did we not really need? And what's awesome about being in winter is what always comes after winter every year for the last 6,000 years.
Spring. It's so funny you say that. I'm walking around my backyard today, and my orange tree is starting to blossom. I saw it. I started counting the blossoms, like, oh, those are all going to be oranges, But yeah, spring, and it's going to come.
And it's going to come. One, because it always does come. And I said 6,000 years because that's approximate recorded history, right? Where we know seasons. Who knows what happened 10,000 years ago? Maybe we never had spring, but I'm pretty sure we did. But you're gonna figure out how to run lean, get through the winter, and then spring. Like I have a tree in my front yard, and my neighbors taught me in the winter, cut it way down. So it almost looks like it's funny. Little tiny branches. And I got
the same, but I also to do it. Yeah.
Yep. And then what's going to happen in the spring is it will grow even bigger, even fuller. So yes, he talks about taking time to analyze those difficult choices and then playing out the third step he says is playing out the series of moves to solve the problems. So it's so important, which I'm sure you did many times before you made any moves. I just knowing you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had your whiteboard and you did, okay, if this happens and this happens, then this, and this. Or
Yeah.
if this happens and this happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
analytical side of you. And that's why your business continues to be successful. So yeah, it's
Oh,
hard.
thank you. It
Yeah.
is. And what I really appreciate about this journey that you and I are going on and with Saige Consultants and Books and Booze is that it showed me you're never done growing. It really, I'm never done learning, growing, and things that I'm actively learning with Kristen within Books and Booze and helping our client family in Saige Consultants is that we are equally going through it, and I'm actively able to help someone navigate the same waters that I'm probably going through or that they're probably going through with me,
Right.
and so that's just incredible. I'm sad, but at the same time, I'm loving it.
Right.
The growth,
You need the hard times to appreciate the abundant times and to recognize growth. And it's interesting, what you're saying actually pairs what he says is there are 3 ways, he loves his lists, the 3 ways to deal with issues. And one way that some people deal with it is to blame someone or something else.
Yeah.
Oh, the market is slowing down. Oh, my people aren't as productive. Oh, I don't have, the goods are delayed in shipping. There, you could blame someone else, right? And sometimes there are external factors, but then you figure out how to roll with them.
Yeah.
The second way to deal with it is to escape and not deal with it at all. Ostrich syndrome.
Yep.
And
You put your head in the ground.
Put your head in the ground. Or one of the things I used to do is I would go home and I would go straight to my room, lights out, and I would just play on my phone like solitaire or something, phone games, right? And I would just disappear from the world. Or third is to take accountability, and use how can I fix this? What can I do? What did I not plan for correctly? What could I have done different? And those are the things that pull people through winters even faster.
Yeah, and I think that's the third one on the list is the hardest.
Oh, sure. It doesn't feel good.
Taking accountability. Yeah, I've Lord knows I've done my fair share of all 3 of those. And the hardest one to get to was just taking accountability. My company currently is at no fault except for my own. Whether it was not having the correct foresight, planning ahead strategically, or just knowing that certain things need to happen before I decided to do them, right? That all falls back on me, but it's okay too.
It is okay.
Taking accountability doesn't mean you have to feel guilty for it.
Absolutely. He even says, don't be a victim, create your own reality. So there are going to be challenges. You're going to have many dragons to slay. But what do you take from that? And that's one of the things I've always appreciated you, as you look at obstacles and challenges as opportunities and lessons, not as failures and setbacks, or oh, the man's really sticking it to me, or oh, the government doesn't want me to succeed, or oh, right. There's so many ways that we can spew excuses, but in reality, we can take these and we can get wiser, we can get stronger, we can get better, and learn from it, and then pass it on, which is exactly what you're saying. Is now that you've experienced it, as we have additional clients who come into a similar cycle, you'll be able to offer empathy because and sympathy because you've gone through it, and can help navigate someone with wisdom and experience. So
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then he talks about, I'll tell you, as I look at my notes for these, I just realize how much he's list driven in the books. I mean, the book is well written and it's very easy to read, but he talks about there are so many different types of crises that could happen for a business. And he lists 10 possible crises, and it really does sum them up, right? We just came out of a health crisis with COVID. So that was definitely a crisis for so many businesses. There's technology crises, right? Where
Mhm.
organizational ones, violence, things happening. I mean, the same year that COVID hit, we learned so much as a people, especially in North America here.
Yeah.
You know, but what was happening socially and the violence that was happening taught us, but it also affected a lot of businesses. Look at where those riots were happening, the damage to storefronts, things like that. There's revenge crises. That's scary. Right?
Yeah.
Defamation. That's going to happen. People get jealous of you and they
Yeah.
want to
Just start spewing things that could be slanderish against you. Yeah.
Sure. There's financial crises, and I think that's very common, you know, and scary. He says black swan, and I meant to research this before I got into this. Do you know what that means?
Yeah,
Like
Black Swan event is like one of those that just completely takes, well, for example, COVID was a Black Swan event. No one could predict it, right? It was a health crisis, right? But at the same time, it was
came out of nowhere. It wasn't
typically
predictable.
the stock market has something called a Black Swan event, and that COVID was the Black Swan event to the stock market. No one could predict that the stock market was going to fall something like 45% in one day, all due to the fact that everything got shut down due to COVID. That was a Black Swan event.
That was a black swan.
Okay. You know, what was it? After the stock market, when the stock market crashed back in the recession, it was one day where everyone's trying to withdraw all their money from the banks and stuff. Right. That was a Black Swan event.
Gotcha. Thank you. Taught me, and I'm sure some listeners may not have known that either. So that was perfect. And then, of course, there's personal crises. Something happens within your family unit or your friends, and then natural. We here in Florida get our fair share.
Hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. Well, I'm naming all the natural ones: tidal waves, earthquakes, tornadoes, wildfires happening in California. It's actually a really big one happening a while back in Texas. Took up like 100 acres or something like that, or 1,000 acres, something like that.
Well, and one of the things he says, and this felt really good to read, is all crises have a different lifespan. But none of them are forever.
Yeah.
Your reaction
this
to it
too shall pass, right?
But your reaction and your ability to reason and think a few moves ahead is what can get you through those crises. And no matter what, as a human spirit, you will get through that crisis.
Yeah.
Navigating your business through it depends on decisions that you make, thinking ahead, planning ahead, and reacting quickly. So, yeah. I like his, he calls it the ITR formula for making these tough decisions. I standing for investment, like how much is it going to cost you? How much will you lose when you've got to make a tough decision? T is for time. So how much time will it take you to implement or time to adjust? And then R, what is the return? What is your return on the time spent, the money spent, investment? I think a lot of people hear return on investment, ROIs, but he throws this ITR formula at anybody who comes at him with a business idea. What is the ITR? So they have to come up with, okay, how much is it going to cost? How much time until we see this? And here's the return we should make on it. And it's a smart thought process to go through with any of those tough decisions. Yeah. I'm sure there are people in the midst of COVID and the violence happening in their cities with the riots who did not want to close their businesses forever. Yeah. But they felt they were at the end of their rope and, money just wasn't coming in. So for options that they did have to work through that ITR formula, it's smart. Yeah. I appreciate learning that.
I appreciate that one too. And I like, we say the same thing to our client family, right? So a lot of the, I should say a lot of the feedback we get, especially with someone just starting up their business, is that I can't afford that at the moment, right? Or maybe I'll do that later, or maybe in the future or within the next couple of months, I'll be able to save up the money and do it or something like that. And I come and, and not trying to sway one way or the other, but one of the things I start thinking about is, how much does it really cost you waiting, right? So if you're waiting and you're not doing the investment now, and you need to go ahead and, make money now, right? Because it's funny, everyone wants to make money now, but no one wants to do the investment now, right? Well, what's your ITR? How much time could you relatively be losing not making the investment? Or let's calculate the investment. You invest this amount of dollars learning a new trade, or getting this new person in your business, or getting this consultation in, and how will you get a return on your investment, and how much time would you be saving? Because time does have cost. And I love how he applied, like that ITR could be applied to anything. It's not even
anything and everything.
Yeah,
well,
anything and everything.
It should also help people assess. I feel like a lot of people we talk to, they want to just start so big. Like they have their ultimate end goal. Here's what I want. But in reality,
tomorrow. They want it tomorrow.
I'm sure, when you thought about starting, having your own business, sure, you wanted to see a team of employees, and you wanted to see, success and world travel. But in reality, you started on your dining room table doing what you could by yourself. And I think when you really boil down these business ideas, can you start it on your dining room table?
Sure.
There's so many things. You and I have huge goals for Saige Consultants, but we're starting it in my kitchen table. Literally. That's where our business meetings happen, unless we have to do like this, right?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be big automatically, but it's having that, being 5 moves ahead. We talked about it in Saige Consultants in 8-week module. We have practical applications that you can actively take within the startup of your business, or even if you're already in business, that you can apply to your current business model to make sure that you are investing your time wisely. What's your ITR, right? You can start on your dining room table, you can start on your kitchen table, but then what next? And every single move and every decision you make needs to be moving you towards that end goal of world travel, of multiple employees, of a headquarter office.
Right. What I really like is he brings up, I guess, I'm trying to read it here, the Chinese word for crisis. So if you go to like the Chinese characters, the word for crisis shares a character with the word for opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great mindset. And I think some people can really spin this and be like, oh, you're going to prey off the unfortunate circumstances of other people. Like, no, it's the ability to take challenges and make yourself thoughtful and intentional with preserving your business, or preserving your business idea and your dreams, and adjusting them and finding where the opportunity is. It's not being an opportunist and taking somebody's, unfortunate circumstance and turning that into a business. I mean, does that happen? Sure. But I interpreted that part that it's a chance for your growth. You go through a crisis, you're going through winter. A lot of people view their seasonal winter as a mini crisis because it often gets paired with financial or personal situations.
Yeah.
And so if you can understand that the Chinese wisdom sees that as opportunity for growth, opportunity for personal development, opportunity for business evolution. And
I find every winter, along with the reset, I like to say that when, like right now, and I'll speak for Be Chic, in our winter is giving us the opportunity to restructure, right? So, and that's what it is. I've had to make some difficult decisions in the last couple of weeks that, tears were shed, but it had to be made, and I had to make them, and I did it. But in this, I also know that there's a greater purpose happening that's allowing me to restructure and refocus what Be Chic will be doing in the future. So again, crisis did spring up opportunities.
Sure. Well, and that leads right into his second move or third move, which is master building the right team.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was one of my favorite parts because one of my whys is developing people.
You're so good at it too.
So much. And he says to start this part of his book that no matter what you do, you have to master working with people. You have to work. And even if you're a solopreneur, you got to work with your customers and your vendors. So no matter what, those people skills and that ability to build your team And that team might be your vendors or your neighbors in your street. I, love my historic St. Cloud, and I'm so impressed with what a few of the businesses do to band together. They're all run by husband and wives, or just the husband or just the wife. But what they do together to bring business in is so that's their team right now. They can't afford employees. That's okay. They'll get there.
Yeah.
And some of them do, but I just think that's so amazing. So thinking 5 moves ahead means you got to let go. He says you have to let go of your ego and realize you cannot do it on your own. No business. I mean, I wrapped my head trying to think of a business that can really, truly do it on their own. There isn't one.
So I've met a lot of people along the way that have been solopreneurs and very successful, multi-million-dollar revenues a year, and they're doing it by themselves, but they're not truly doing it by themselves. They have contractors or they've got vendors that they work through in order to meet those numbers, right?
Sure.
But because they're not on payroll, they consider them a solopreneur, right? No, teaming up has to happen 100%. And then the other argument is, oh, well, I'm not a people person. I'm more of an introvert. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Patrick covers this in the book too, right? When he talks about, maybe you're not a people person or something like that. But the idea is nothing is achieved unless you practice. So if you don't know how to talk to people, get out there. Get out there, start talking to people.
No, it's so true. He challenges you to think, like, why should somebody come work for you? And that work for you doesn't need to mean your employees. It can mean your vendors, right? Why should they work for your business? So he says, don't be selfish. Look and see what you can learn from others and what you can offer them. And I think I just go back to, my little town here and how these small businesses work together to bring in traffic on a regular basis and do events in the historic streets and stuff like that to bring customers in and to bring footsteps. And they're not doing it by themselves. You can't. So I really like that. Here's his lists. He loves I love this. So this is where he teeters more into talking about if you have employees. And he says, how can you give them equity in the business after they earn it? So something that they can look forward to. And it's true, like commission-based sales conceptually can be like the most lucrative when somebody's good at it. And it's a win-win for a business and an employee, because then the business only pays when the employee generates sales. So for someone trying to get their business up and going, I think, commission sales can sound like such a negative thing, depending on, or can make it sound very cutthroat and not sincere. But that's a possibility. As a solopreneur, if you're like, okay, I do need somebody else, how can I set up their relationship that part of their income is based on the company's growth and success? But then when you set that up, it's great, because then they even have more buy-in, because he talks about his lists, 6 things, that people want to be compensated properly for their efforts, of course, right? And right now the whole thing is, hourly pay, especially in Florida, with the way it's been shifting. And we have so many business giants here that are able to really throw the pay scale. And that makes it challenging for small businesses. A lot of small businesses can't afford what these huge theme parks that make billions of dollars a year, and they can afford to pay $15, $16, $17 an hour to part-time associates. Like that's what some of these small businesses want to pay their assistant manager right now, because that's what they can do. So it's very hard, in certain demographics. But so people want to be compensated properly. Outstanding performers want to participate in the success of the company. If somebody's truly, they want to earn more if they do more, which is fair.
It's fair.
Right?
Yeah,
they want to be part of something that's making an impact. So this is where small businesses really have a strong fighting chance, because they have the ability to really make a bigger impact. They want to be recognized in front of their peers.
Yeah.
They want to know that there is growth opportunities, and they want to be judged on clear set expectations. And I think all of that is absolutely relevant and fair. And even if you're bringing just one person in as a partner, or you're bringing someone in as a independent contractor to drive sales for you. I did that for a while. I had a friend long time ago. She made beautiful jewelry, actually, and I tried my hand at doing outside sales for her. And my income was pretty much commission based, but that drove me to get her product out there even more.
Yeah.
Build those relationships and practice that. I was so young. There was so much to learn with that. I was raised retail. So all I knew was if a customer came to you, I knew how to sell to them. But to go to a customer and say, you don't know me, you don't know this product, but you want it.
That's art. That's right there.
But she made it so rewarding because there was so much more. There was so much good that she did with her product. Yeah. And it felt good to work with a company like that because I was part of something bigger. So there's things that you can do as a solopreneur that you can still bring in help and support and get people's buy-in. So not to give up hope on that, I guess. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I think when it really, so this is my passion piece, is bringing in the right people and the right team. Like that's what I love that I do. And he says something in here that I 100% agree with. It's communicate your expectations from the beginning.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit in, I want to say it was mindset, where when you bring somebody in, and E-Myth, you got to be crystal clear what you need from them. Hey, I want you to be part of this team. This is what I need from you. Here's my business why. Here's why my business is in business. This is what I want to accomplish. And this is what can happen when you deliver this. And then here's what we're going to do with a part of these profits. Here's how we're going to give back to the community. Here's how we're going to reinvest it. Here's what long-term growth could look like for you. So you may have your next future GM working for you right now as a independent salesperson.
Yeah.
That could take the reins for you so that you can, work from home and travel with your family, and they keep the business running once it's profitable enough. So yeah. I love that piece of it. But I agree with him completely. Just building that right team, whether it's your neighbors, your vendors, or people that you're bringing in, can make or break you on your business growth. You know this, right? You can't do it without your team.
I do. And, I think one of the hardest parts of you start a business from the ground up is you don't want to make the mistake of bringing in the wrong person. Right. And so maybe your idea of where you want this person to go later on in your business, or maybe you didn't even think 5 moves ahead. You were just filling a need at the moment. Right. Now that person's on board. You're like, okay, now how could I offer growth? And you have to start thinking, how do you want, what's the vision for the company? What's the avenue you see this person coming in? Because that's another obstacle. When you bring someone in, maybe what you needed them for that moment. And then once you see their skill set, you start thinking about where could they be better used at, and so that's that part of being strategic. And you have to look, and this is actually leading into, we're talking about love languages in a little bit, but really looking at the personality of that person and just saying, what feeds them, what fuels them, right?
Yep.
Looking at their skill set and knowing that you want to take advantage of the high quality skills that they have, and where could you place them later on in your organization, and then selling them on that,
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. And I think when you take the time to think 5 moves ahead before you hire someone, that can help prevent that panic hiring.
Exactly.
We've all been there. We've all been like,
I've done it. I just told you my story. I did it, we all do it. But once you get to the idea, if I knew then what I know now, I would do it exactly the way Patrick's talking about it. But back then I didn't know what I know now, and I panic hired. And now it's like, okay, how can I develop a role for this person to grow? Which is not really the way it should go. It should be you're filling the role you're getting a person to fill the role exactly the way it should be.
What the business needs.
Yeah, what the business needs.
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the responsible way to do it. It feels cold to just say it, but when you really think about somebody's long-term, like work-life balance, health of a business, when you think of it that way, you'll be bringing someone in if they want to stay aboard long-term. you'll have a better growth plan. And that could save a lot of frustration on both ends.
Yeah.
And I love you brought up the love languages, because even Patrick brings that up, which is so important. I think it's really, I love when I bring teams together and they analyze even what their work love language is. You know, it's the five, he references the book, Five Love Languages, which is by Chapman, an amazing book and applicable in every aspect of life. And does, I think, intentionally for relationships like husband and wife, and dating relationships. I know the book was recommended to Kevin and I before we got married, you know, to understand each other's love languages, but that translates into the workforce. And how do you help each other feel respected? And when you understand that, when you're interviewing somebody, what is their love language? What do they need from their leader? What do they need from their team? Helps you know, if you know your love languages. And here's the thing, how you express love is not necessarily how you feel love. So I think it's really important. Like, you may express love by words of affirmation. Hey, great job, buddy. You're amazing. Awesome. You're the best. But the way you feel loved is maybe acts of service. So if somebody's personal love language is that they need quality time, and you know, as a leader, you don't have time for that, then this would be an interesting relationship. You run the risk of them feeling unvalued or unfulfilled in your care. And that's huge.
It is. Yeah. It's, I when he brought that up in the book, I was like, he nailed it.
He nailed it.
Totally. As a leader, you know, we talk about accountability. Part of the accountability of being a leader is looking at your team and saying, how can I fill their needs that they don't even know they need? You know? So, and in knowing their love language really helps, because maybe they just need the kudos. We'll give them the kudos if it's deserving, right? That's
yes, of course. Yes. So the other thing he talks about within, right after he talks about love languages, is realizing that there's 3 different powerful impacts of praising your team too. And I like that he says that it's really good to do it in front of everybody. So, you know, if you have a really great, if let's say maybe you're opening a restaurant or a coffee shop, and you're going to be opening with 4 or 5 people. You can't run that with only, you know, a few people. So you're going to have a team of people. Praising people in front of their peers is so powerful, right? And that can feel really good. But there's something also to the psychological sincerity of praising them in private, just to them, right? This is a conversation, just me and you. I just want to let you know I'm really grateful for this, and you did amazing at this. But I've been doing the third for goodness forever, and I love that he put it in his book. But it's praising them behind their back, and this is really powerful for 2 reasons. One, people wonder what the boss or the owner thinks about them. So when you are talking to another employee or another partner, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person, I can't believe this, right? Or here's a great example. When you have a team of employees and over the phone, you hear so-and-so is calling out for their shift. If your response is, gosh, they always call out, that subliminal message to the rest of your team is, I wonder what they say about me when I'm not around.
Yeah.
But when your response, when somebody calls out, oh my goodness, I hope they're okay, let me go talk to them. What message do you think that sends to everybody else? That you care? That you want to know what's going on? Now, you personally inside may be saying, oh my gosh, this person always calls out. But you can't say that out loud to your team, because that begins a disillusionment, a dissolvement of the team environment. So same thing with praising somebody. When you praise a fellow leader or employee, especially somebody you want to put into leadership or responsibility, when you praise them when they're not even around to everybody else, it lets them know that you feel really good about this person, but it also just feeds this environment and culture of that you say positive things about people. You don't talk bad behind people's back. And if you need to vent, then that better be done in closed doors with
Yeah.
Someone who is equal to you only. You cannot vent to anyone who is not equal to you. So if that means you got to call your BFF and be like, girl, I know you don't know this person, but let me tell you about the day I had, because I just have to vent. What is she's doing? These people, oh my gosh, what are they doing with it? No, right? You need to vent to someone in your business that doesn't hear that, because it will just damage the culture of your business so much. And I love that Patrick digs into it, and I feel like it can go so much deeper, because that's a really powerful piece of why somebody would work for you.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think if I've ever done I think I've done all three of them unconsciously. I think I'm really, as far as the private thing I do, whether it's disciplinary or complimenting someone, I've done it in front of people, but I'm really big about doing it personally, because I feel like it's more sincere.
Absolutely.
One-on-one, when you're telling them face to face, it feels more sincere. But yeah, no, the book is great. I think there's a reason why it was number one for as long as it was. And he really did, knock it out of the park, with this one, even with all how many things he wants to kill in sports that he wasn't able to play. Yeah. So,
but the lists in it are awesome. Like it helps the analytical brain. It helps you process kind of what he's saying. And, but yeah, so wow, to talk about these two moves, right? So it was master your ability to reason today, and master building the right team.
Yeah.
We got two more left. They're a doozy. I'm excited for that.
They are. And then we wrap it up from there, right? Yes.
We got two more episodes within this book.
Yeah.
And I think the next two are going to be, they're really meaty. Like there's a lot of good stuff. And I think that leap from concept to entrepreneur, and then entrepreneur to business owner.
Yes.
The next two are exciting. So thank you for being able to meet with me in between my jet setting travels.
Yeah. Busy woman over here. Busy woman.
Traveling the state. Yay. I love it. So guys, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. You heard us referring Saige Consultants. That is, where we help business owners launch, successful businesses, and kind of be with you on those key fundamental building the steps that you need to build your business. And if you already have a business, we're here for you too, as well. So, but with Books and Booze, we're trying to grow our audience here. We're trying to reach as many entrepreneurs as possible. So it helps us if you like and subscribe. Please give some comments below, some suggestions. We're working on finding our voice with this.
Yes, we are. We're getting there, though.
We're getting there.
We nailed down our tagline, which is
grab a good book,
get some great booze,
and grab a good to share with.
Cheers! All right, guys, have fun. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.